Alright guys, and today we're back for the black phone. Thought there was someone there then. I think it's time to get back to the car. So we're back in the safety of our house. I don't know what just happened back there, but I got out of there as quick as I could. So let's get on with reviewing The Black Phone. Directed by Scott Derrickson, the guy that brought us Sinister. Now, I really enjoyed that film. It gave us a villain that was a kind of a demon, kept him mysterious, and it kept the suspense and the tension high because of that. So I was really looking forward to this film. I saw the trailer and it looked very scary. Set in that 70s, 80s kind of era in a small town where everyone seems to know each other. We've got our main protagonists here, brother and sister, Finney and Gwen. Now, the situation at home isn't that great. They live with an alcoholic father. They have to watch what they're doing. It's like stepping on eggshells. Anything they might say that's wrong, anything they might do that's wrong, they know it'll end up in a beating. And this is where the film gets a bit unsettling straight away. Living in the shadow of fear at home, it's not good for children. It seems like their mother has passed away, potential suicide at some point. They don't actually show that, but that's what the film seems to suggest. Even school life is tough for our Finney. Keeps himself to himself. You know, gets picked on by the school bullies. He's a bit of in the background type of kid. Not confrontational. Doesn't like to be at the forefront. Whereas his sister is headstrong, confident, even has to look out for her brother. While we're being introduced to these young protagonists, we've got this small town that's constantly under the threat of this continuous series of abductions. And the reason for these abductions is this mysterious masked stranger, this guy right here, hell-bent on taking as many kids as he can, and the police can't do a single thing to stop him. As the abductions keep getting more and more frequent, it was only a matter of time before he finds Finney. The cast is absolutely fantastic. Mason Thames as Finney and Madeleine McGraw as Gwen. Both are absolutely talented, conveying their different characteristics, their different personalities in a very believable way. You can feel their sibling chemistry and you really begin to care for both of them. And that's not only because of this guy, but also because of their menacing and abusive father at home. That constant threat of doing or saying something wrong puts you on the edge of your seat. And that fear that the kids have, you feel it. You really do feel it, and that's in part of the menace portrayed really well by Jeremy Davies. Moving on to Ethan Hawke and his portrayal of this mysterious child abductor named by the town as the Grabber. An absolutely terrific, or shall I say, terrifying performance by Ethan Hawke. What an absolute joy it was to see him act as the villain. Really relishes in playing the villain. We also saw him in Moon Knight as the bad guy. It really does suit playing the bad guy really well. Wearing a mask throughout the film, it can hinder an actor's performance because you can't see what they're doing or the emotions that are on their face, but Hawke absolutely takes it in his stride. He doesn't need to show these emotions by face. He does it with hand gestures, with bodily movements, and everything about him becomes really creepy. An evil character and psychopath that absolutely relishes in creating fear. He relishes in kidnapping these children, and there's nothing anybody can do to stop him. So we don't ever get to find out too much about the character. They leave that mystery to our own imaginations. We're wondering who he is, where is he from, what are his motivations. But in doing so, it also leads me on to the negative points of this film. So as scary and as terrifying he is, we never really get to see him doing anything. I mean, you can just compare that with Pennywise from It. Bites off Georgie's arm, immediately stamps down his evil and wicked personality. Bagul from Sinister, the cause of many eerie scenes, is in a few jump scares, and it really sets the character up to be a terrifying demonic villain. The Grabber, on the other hand, he doesn't really enact any on-screen violence. He doesn't really go and do anything that's going to make you terrified or scared. Now, they've left that off-screen. I guess that's all down to your own imagination. But for me, if I'd seen something presented on screen, it would have made the character much scarier. So I think the potential was a little bit lost there. Now, for everyone who's seen the trailer, it made it out that it was going to be such a scary film. And to my disappointment, that wasn't the case. It wasn't really scary at all. And that's not down to this guy. It's not down to Ethan Hawke, no. But it's all down to the writing of the film. And in fact, I actually found the kid's father to be even scarier than what this guy does on screen. And now that's saying something, because I don't think the film wanted it to be that way. But for me, those scenes were a lot more unsettling than what this guy does. The second negative point for me was the plot device itself, the actual black phone. I loved the concept of it, and I loved the actual way it sounded, you know, giving a static noise to the voices of the past abducted children. It sounded a bit like, if you've seen Poltergeist, you hear Carol Ann speaking through the TV. It sounded kind of like that, and I think it pays homage to that in some kind of way, and I did enjoy that. What I didn't like about that concept was how easy it made it for Finney to overcome each and every hurdle that he faced. Every time he got a phone call, he would get this piece of information from one of the past abducted children. And instead of it being a challenge for him to get out of his situation, it made it too easy for him. Now, early on in the film, we find that he's a very academically orientated kid. He's got high intellect. He has friends that he helps with mathematics and stuff like that. And I would have liked to have seen that intelligent mind come into practice, and that be the reason that gets him out of the trouble that he's facing. And I'm just throwing it out there, but I probably would have preferred these phone calls to have been kind of like little puzzles or riddles that he has to solve using his own brain. And that would have made a better film for me, but the way they handled it, it just kind of made it too easy for him to get out of the situation that he was in. Now, other than the main story being about Finney, what I also enjoyed about the film was Gwen's story arc. She remains headstrong throughout the whole film. Now, even with the threat of her father's abuse and menace, she still remains confident and headstrong. You know, she had this ongoing banter with God. You know, it was almost like she spoke to him like a friend or a peer, and it was really good to see that. It was really good to see how a child would interact with God himself, and I did enjoy that part of the film. I really did. So all in all, the story, the acting and the performances, they all tied up really well. Now, visually, the film has quite a somber mood to it. Even the day scenes, they seem to be overcast with some sort of eerie shadow. And I think that ties in really well with the way they wanted to present the film. The area in which Finney's locked up is like a damp and dirty, filthy dungeon kind of thing. And you really want the kid to get out of there. Sound design is really good. You can hear the pitter-patter of the rain. You can hear each and individual noise from that dungeon all around you in the theatre. Really adds to the atmosphere of the film. The soundtrack as well. Mix of 70s, 80s cheesy music mixed in with music that really shows that there's a threat, there's a danger present. You know, it really pays a homage to films of that era. So to wrap things up, you know, the film didn't provide the scares that the trailer seemed to suggest, but all in all, it gave us an excellent villain. It gave us a very good story, gave us 2 excellent young leads, and it ran along at a really good pace while providing plenty of edge-of-your-seat thrills, keeping the film unsettling and eerie at the same time. So my score for The Black Phone is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. A good film, but with a lot of missed potential. Could have been scarier, it could have been darker, but nevertheless, it provided us with an excellent villain, played perfectly by Ethan Hawke. It's not a classic by any means, no, but it's definitely one to watch. And with that, guys, I'll catch you later on the next one.